It's time for our final speaker for the day. She has extensive experience working with health NGOs, spending more than 25 years providing strategic leadership nationally and globally. Please welcome to the stage the Acting CEO of VicHealth, Dr. LYN Roberts AO.
Wow, what a great morning. I'm just in awe of all of the speakers, so thank you so much, and to our panellists. I'd really like to start though by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present. And to thank Uncle Bill for his sincere welcome to country and reminding us and sharing those values of respect of people, of country and culture. I'd also just really like to thank Tracy, who's done just a superb job today, and congratulate you on being the joint winner of the Sydney Peace Prize alongside Tarana Burke. It's a wonderful acknowledgement of your work. Your award-winning journalism investigating allegations of sexual harassment of high-profile people in the media has been incredibly powerful and inspirational, and you've shown great courage in establishing Now Australia, and it's just wonderful to also hear about the model of leadership that you're actually setting up within that organisation. We're incredibly fortunate to have women such as this with such tenacity providing this kind of leadership right across Australia. I'd like to thank our keynote speakers and panellists from the Victoria Equal Opportunity Commission, the Metropolitan Fire Brigade, the Multicultural Centre for Women's Health, the North Melbourne Football Club, the Office for Women in Sport and Recreation for that brilliant and thought-provoking morning. Today's forum was the first in our Policy and Practice for Gender Equality series for 2019. And VicHealth is pleased to have led this ongoing partnership with the Office for Women that has organised the series of policymaker forums over the last 3 years. And we're very pleased to have recently welcomed Respect Victoria as a part of this alliance. We decided on the topic of workplace equality and respect based on the surge in inquiries over the past years from organisations and government departments who have indicated an overwhelming readiness to make cultural change in their workplaces and are looking for guidance on embedding gender equality principles into their work. Such readiness illustrates the success of a strategic evidence-based approach to prevent violence against women that has been led by the Victorian Government since the release of its first prevention strategy in 2009, and has been powerfully reinforced with continued investment since the release of the findings of the Royal Commission and the resulting Gender Equality Strategy and Prevention Action Strategy. Having heard today from the Sex Discrimination Commissioner Kate Jenkins about the findings of the Sexual Harassment Survey and the current inquiry, and via letter, of course, from Anne Rose about the National Community Attitude Survey, it can be quite sobering to acknowledge that the lived experience of far too many women in our communities remains far less than ideal. And for those of us working to improve the safety and well-being of women, it can be frustrating to hear that the statistics are not changing as significantly or as swiftly as we would all like. There can be little doubt in any of our minds that there is still a great deal of work to do. But I do hope that for many of you, today has provided a moment to acknowledge just how far we've come, that we can be in a room with so many colleagues, all committed to raising the standard by challenging behaviour, attitudes, practices or policies that contribute to sexism, discrimination and violence against women. This is something that VicHealth could only have dreamed of back in 2004 when we first embarked on the work to investigate the burden of disease impacts of violence against women. By 2007, when we released the first Victorian framework for the prevention of violence against women, we knew that the seriousness and prevalence of such violence was preventable, but without the ongoing support, commitment and passion of all of you across all the sectors and settings that influence our culture, we could never have imagined the winds of change that have so powerfully combined to get us to this point today. When we look around the room today, it's very affirming to note the number of colleagues committed to creating healthier and more gender equitable workplaces. And I'd like to warmly thank all of you from state and local government, women's health, corporate, disability, academia, youth, education, sport, and the ever-growing P4 sector for being here today. I'd like you all to take a moment now to give each other and yourselves a round of applause. Because we know that this work is often very difficult and that we're working in environments where not everyone is convinced of its value and they don't necessarily make the connections between investing in gender equality and the resulting prevention of violence against women. Having had the opportunity today to hear from both the Minister for Women and Our Watch about the freshly minted workplace equality and respect standards, I hope you are all feeling just a little bit better equipped to continue the work of changing systems and structures, policies and practice that can enable more confident and forthright action that promotes respect towards all women and that sees gender equality as the norm rather than the exception in the workplace. It's truly exciting to look out now at the range of partners all recognising the validity of this work and all committing to serious investment in this space, and to see the leadership provided by the Victorian Government, from Our Watch, ANROS, and Victoria's organisation that's now dedicated to primary prevention, Respect Victoria, working alongside NGOs, women's health and the corporate sector. I must say it's a truly magnificent view from up here. There is, I think, currently a collective sense of urgency to understand what can motivate people to engage more actively in challenging gender discrimination and the passive acceptance of everyday sexism and harassment that so many women still experience. So now we have a set of standards and some brilliant new resources on the Workplace Equality and Respect Hub. We also have the collective wisdom of a range of organisations who have piloted the embedding of the standards into their own workplaces or have supported the rollout in other organisations. We also have examples of work plans, and other key resources that have been developed based on this work. And links to these are here on the screen now and are available on the forum webpage. I hope this morning's forum has provided you with inspiration and guidance for your own work, be it in the policy arena or out in the community. And I'd like to remind you that, of course, there'll be an evaluation link that we'll be sending out later this afternoon, and your responses to this will help inform our future events. So please remember to fill it out. I'd like to express my deep thanks to both Respect Victoria and the Office for Women at the Department of Premier and Cabinet, who are our collaborative partners for today's forum and the next in our series in September this year. I'd like to acknowledge the very important issue of the need for further diversity in our speakers and panellists, which you've raised this morning, and we will certainly be taking that on board in terms of our future events. I'd like to acknowledge the Forum Working Party, including Laura Wood and Anne Stevens of Respect Victoria, Julianne Stevens from the Office for Women, and the VicHealth team of Liz, Emma, Adam and Michelle. Finally, I'd like to thank each of you for your attendance here today, either in person or online, and your thought-provoking engagement in the discussions through your Slido questions. I'd also just like to share a little, perhaps trivial story of my own work experience of being about 23, moving from Western Australia to South Australia and being quite excited about getting a job in a public hospital, working in a respiratory function lab. There were 2 men in the laboratory and myself. We did a lot of testing on people that had respiratory illnesses. And it was the late 70s. So I went to work one day in a pantsuit. I didn't think that was particularly outrageous, only to be taken aside by morning tea by the senior respiratory physician, He pointed out that he didn't really think that a pantsuit was at all appropriate to come to work in. I said, but why not? I work in a laboratory. It seems a very practical thing for me to wear. And he pointed out to me ever so politely that men actually wear trousers and women, of course, wear skirts. Didn't I realise I was working in a hospital where the doctors were men and the women were nurses? I think we have come a little way since then, but it does remind you of what we all have to face, and many women, I'm sure, in this room have faced in their careers. So I wish you courage and fortitude in using the wisdom and resources shared today to continue to build better and more equitable workplaces for women and a better world for all of us. And I do hope you can stay and have a bit of lunch with us. Thanks very much.